Hi, welcome to Fun Science with Rohini. Today's experiment is about a process which you must have come across during your school years, or if you're a biology student, many more years later into your higher studies. It's about the development of smallpox vaccine by Edward Jenner. Now, Edward Jenner is the one who's credited with developing a vaccine for smallpox, wherein there were so many people before him who were already practicing this procedure, but there is one major difference for which Edward Jenner probably deserves the praise. I'll explain the experiment. It is very simple and elegant, very clean experiment with good results, and you will see how it laid the foundation for vaccination and why Edward Jenner is called the father of immunology. Edward Jenner based his experiment on the local belief that dairy maids, people who came in contact with cows which had cowpox, were immune to smallpox infections. That was the local belief. The dairy workers were immune to smallpox because they contracted a mild form of cowpox. They contracted cowpox from the cows, and that made them immune. He wanted to test his theory. He wanted to test this belief. So what he did, he chose a dairy worker, Sarah, who had cowpox. Cowpox lesions can be seen here on her hand. She contracted cowpox from the cow. She's a dairy worker, and she had cowpox lesions on her hand. So Edward Jenner, to test his theory, if this cowpox, contracting cowpox, made a person immune to smallpox, he removed pus from these pustules, pus from these boils, and he chose his gardener's son, James Phipps, an 8-year-old boy, and he introduced the pus got from Sarah's hand into the arm of James Phipps. James Phipps' arms, you can see here, the cowpox is being injected into his arms. Just you make a small cut in the hand and put the cowpox intradermally. Put the cowpox into the skin of the boy. And then a few days after this procedure was carried out on James Phipps developed mild inconvenience, fever, and he was restless all night long. But then the next day, he was fine. He was happy and he was back to his normal state. Now, smallpox takes somewhere around 10 to 14 days to show signs and symptoms, and smallpox was considered a deadly disease because if people did not die of it, they were severely disfigured. And many people started dying with smallpox, and it's like a epidemic, or it started spreading too fast in the community, and it was highly contagious, and it mostly resulted in death. And in one island, reports were sent wherein 60% of the young population of the village died. So smallpox had to be addressed, and somebody had to come up with a procedure. Of course, before Jenner, there were people called Benjamin Jeste, a farmer who is known to have inoculated his wife and 2 children with cowpox to protect them from smallpox, and they survived the smallpox epidemic. And then there was one more doctor, a self-taught doctor, Johnny Notions, who is supposed to have used practices of inoculating people with this smallpox, milder form of smallpox, to protect them from the actual disease. There were so many people who tried this kind of vaccination, but what makes Edward Jenner stand out is he inoculated James Phipps with cowpox, and then once James Phipps recovered naturally, he inoculated James Phipps with smallpox, and he observed that James Phipps could resist the infection of smallpox, that is, he was immune to smallpox. And Jenner just did not inoculate Phipps with smallpox once, but he did it many times. He showed experimental proof that people who have cowpox or who are infected with cowpox are immune to smallpox. He experimentally demonstrated it and proved it by inoculating cowpox into James Phipps first, and he let James Phipps recover naturally, and then he inoculated James Phipps with smallpox and showed to the world that people who are inoculated with cowpox are resistant to smallpox infections. And this part of the procedure is what makes Edward Jenner stand out. After inoculation with cowpox, nobody tested by inoculating the patient with another dose of smallpox, but Edward Jenner did it, proving once and for all that this immunization procedure is worthwhile and it is good to try it. Now, like Francis Galton says, in science, the one who gets the credit is the one who convinces the world and not the one to whom the idea first occurs. Thank you.